happens.
Hey, look at that.
Oh, there it is. I see it now.
I clicked the button. I swear to God, I clicked the button.
You know you didn't. Don't lie to everybody. You have to build trust with this audience.
I swear I clicked the button.
Hey, that means I'm not late. This is awesome.
That's right. It is your fault at the end of the day. All right. Well, we'll start over again quickly because we didn't really get too far into this, but we're talking about the fact that Hal recreated the characters that were already going to be in the game and put the Hal spin on them, and mentioning that the character that he feels had the biggest change was
Jamal Jaziri.
And this is one that we just saw recently come out in black and white form so far.
I think yesterday, but it was, but he wasn't even in the trailer. It was just an email with some ideas that Sam had sent to me. And I just kind of took that and, made something a little bit, I think, more palatable out of it,
Gotcha.
There is one change that I'd like to address that
What's
I'm
that?
a little bit embarrassed about. Is so my friend Thomas, who is the character Mad Tam, he gave me his jiu-jitsu t-shirt for me to take pictures and everything like that. And so that's in the trailer. You see him wearing that top in the trailer. And I had no idea, but the lion that's on the side of his top is based on a real life top that he wears to jiu-jitsu. That lion is apparently, what team is it, Hal?
Detroit Lions. It's their logo.
Yeah, so
whoopsie.
Whoops.
So whoever made so Hal messaged me and he's like, what are we going to do about the top? And I'm like, yeah, no, the writing, don't worry about the writing because that might be a hassle to to replicate on a whatever. And he's like, yeah, but what about the lion? I'm like, what about the lion? He's like, well, you can't use that. I'm like, why? And then he sends me the link to Detroit Lions, and I'm like, no, because obviously we're in Scotland, American football is not as big a thing here, so
yeah, it's not as big a thing here anymore either.
Well, even if it were big in Scotland, like twice as big as it is, they still wouldn't give a fuck about the Detroit Lions. Come on.
Yeah, in America, they don't care about the Detroit Lions.
No, they don't. I told him that the Lions are kind of famous for being losers, I mean,
they do it well.
I used to watch the Lions and root for them because they were kind of lovable losers, almost like the Cubs,
See, the Cubs were lovable losers. The Detroit Lions are just losers.
Okay, all right. Listen, you're gonna get some hate from Detroit.
That's all right. Hey, I was a Giants fan when I watched football. Okay, so I can't say too much. I mean, we had a couple of good years, but we sucked a lot.
Oh my God, I'm a Falcons fan. What are you bitching about?
Well, again, you had a couple of good years too. We're about the same, really.
God.
When we were good, we were really good, but that wasn't all that often.
Yeah,
I'm just going to pretend I know what you're talking about.
You've got teams over there that are the same, I'm sure. Great one year, not so great for the next decade.
Honestly, yeah. I don't even keep up with UK football, so
well, that's good. You got other things to be busy with, so let's
that's
stay focused, man.
But yeah, so that was a bit of a blunder having that logo on there because I didn't know, and of course I'm asking my friend to make sure I've got permission to use this. Little did I know they don't even have permission to use it. So, but yeah, no. Apart from that, so yeah, we ended up doing a redesign of the top there, and it looks much better now anyway. So that's cool.
Excellent.
Yeah, he sent me some flags, like Scottish flags. They have this crazy looking medieval lion on them. They're like red and yellow, like Hulkamania Scotland or something.
They use those lions a lot on the NXT UK stuff.
Oh, do they? Okay, all right.
Like the belts and stuff like that.
Very Scottish now. It'll be blue and white and very Scottish.
Looking forward to the colorized versions of these so I can get to work on my end.
Oh yeah. Well, that's coming. Well, I got to do this Bret Hart thing, and then once I get done drawing that, I can take everything and have it photocopied so I can color it. But yeah,
coming along. All right, let's jump into some questions right here. Some of these have already been asked in the past. We're going to skip over those and move through these in rapid fire. So we've got a guy named Faku, and you got to pronounce that very carefully, I'm sure. Do you plan to include an option to create leagues? And basically he's talking about like in AAA, a AA, single A, where basically a wrestler could move up to the big leagues.
move up to the big leagues.
Yeah, so in other words, you'd start at an indie level, and then it would automatically, after a certain period of time, promote you up to maybe something a little bit more regional, and then to the WWE type stuff.
Yeah, the career mode is basically that, the legacy career mode. That's, you start off small promotion, small shows. You eventually work up to the bigger shows with that promotion, and then you can move up to bigger promotions on the smaller shows. It'll be a whole growth process that over the course of decades as well.
Cool. Star Force Geo had 4 questions. First 3 have already been answered in the past. But we're going to pick up the 4th one here, where it says, are there any brand new match types that you guys are planning that have never been seen in a wrestling game?
They've never been seen in a wrestling game. I'm trying to remember now. There's been talk about like a lumberjack match. I don't know if I think maybe that has been in a wrestling game somewhere.
Somebody had said something. I want to say WCW Revenge or something like that. That I haven't gotten around to playing that yet. But somebody was telling me that there was a lumberjack match somewhere. But I was like, I don't know about that.
Not in Revenge.
Okay.
Unless they have, because in Revenge you only get 4 characters, so you can't really have a lumberjack match. Yeah, I'm sure maybe something like that exists in some game, but yeah, so that's been something we've been talking about. Another thing is that keeps coming up is a dog collar match.
That would be tough.
Yeah. So again, this is all very much in the planning stage of, like, you know, how would we implement that, especially if we're trying to do it in an AKI-esque way. But yeah, in terms of trying to figure out matches that just have never been done before. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I sometimes kind of get a little crazy. You know, what was that match with I think it was on like Hog Wild. There was the match that took place in the back of a
the moving truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Dustin and Repo Man.
All right, yeah. So I don't know. My mind starts going like places like that. That'd be kind of interesting.
That actually could be cool. Because think about it. All you'd have to do is have a playable map, and then you could just have the scrolling graphics on the side.
Well, hey, I did give him the idea to have arm wrestling in the back. You can challenge, you know, somebody that you hate in career mode or whatever to an arm wrestling match. So it would be like, I guess it would be sort of like that. There was an arm wrestling game that was based on the character, like it's the same kind of deal as Punch Out. I think they made that.
Yeah.
An arcade game, and you just had to, I don't know, I think the controls were kind of shitty, but like, you know, Sam could do it better.
It'd be a good little side game.
That's a good idea for a side game that could also possibly play into, like, so that would be backstage, but it could also occasionally play into a story in front of the crowd, where you then take that same mini game and have it in the ring in front of the crowd, and it's part of the career mode. So that's quite an interesting idea.
Now, you know what you ought to do? You ought to have it where you can get drunk as hell and you can challenge somebody to a shoot Greco-Roman wrestling match on a fucking airplane. like the
plane race from hell. Yeah.
Just make sure you keep your clothes on.
Oh God. Well.
All right, let's see what we got here. Orlando Sarmiento says, can you assign a GM or created or existing promotion in the game? For example, 2 wrestlers are squaring off in a match when suddenly a GM appears in a cutscene and changes the match to, let's say, a 3-way.
So yeah, in the legacy mode, you'll be in control of your wrestler, and there will be sort of GM moments like that. But after the game's released, further down the line, this is why we've called it Legacy Career, because we want to differentiate it. We want to have like a sort of GM, a booker career mode where you only play as the booker, and you'll get to make more kind of decisions like that in that role.
Okay, that works for me. Funky Buddha says some wrestlers entering in over the top rope with their animations, the taller guys, for example, if it's a tag match, it takes them longer to get in to try and break up the tag, which gives an unfair advantage. He wants to know if there's going to be a faster version for big guys to get into the ring over the top rope, or is that even going to be an issue?
No, I've not thought about that.
You ought to just have it the way that Kevin Nash used to do it. Because this was a problem in Revenge when you'd be the outsiders, Hall and Nash, and Hall was in the ring getting pinned by one of the Steiner brothers or something. It'd take forever for Nash to get over that fucking top rope, get in there and break up the pin. So, but what he did in real life was he didn't come over the top rope in the middle of the match. He'd go through the second rope, just like everybody else.
All right. Okay.
But he kind of did that over the top rope thing for style. You know what I mean? Just on his entrance.
Yeah, I don't know then. I guess we'd have to, maybe if it was a tag team match, it can switch to get in the ring normally.
The way that you used to be able to circumvent that problem was if you could see that Scott Hall was about to get pinned, you as, Kevin Nash, if you're playing like a 4-player or 2-player game, whatever.
Drop down and slide in.
You could jump down to the floor and then slide in. Yeah, but it was still, people shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
That's one thing we've been talking a lot about with 2K is how we have to keep on finding new ways to make the game work.
Yep.
It's becoming the actual game now. All right. Aunt Maurizio's back. Will the official wireless N64 controller for Switch be directly mapped to the button and control scheme from the old Aki games for the Switch version?
Ooh.
I'm not sure if there's a way to preempt that. But when you go to the menu system in the game, you can go into the options and you can remap the controls on the fly. So if you connect the wireless N64 controller and it's not mapped properly, you can just go into the settings and set it, and it should save and everything.
There you go. So you'll be able to do it yourself if it's not.
I'd go get that 64 controller just to play this, if you can do that.
Mr. Dubs says, when playing online, will you be able to search for matches in the background while you're playing the game? So basically, while the matches are loading in, can you maybe work on a created wrestler or have a little match going on until the match starts?
Oh, okay. Not thought about that at all yet, because that's a big part of the online mode, which is going to come later, and we need to do loads of testing on that. But yeah, I guess I'm not sure if it would be just a case of maybe you could load the training scenario. So with the training environment, there's no crowd, so it's less intense to run that in the background. So it might be just a case of while you're waiting on a match loading, you're in the training environment and you can move around, and so you don't need to just sit and look at the screen. Maybe something like that.
Josh Richards wants to know if there's going to be default characters. So basically what he's asking is, if you go to create a wrestler mode and you have your default body styles or character styles, will any of them already kind of look very familiar to us? In other words, would there be somebody that looks almost exactly like Ric Flair? You might just have to put a few things on and rename it. Something to that effect. Or are they just going to be a blank canvas?
Oh, so when you're just creating a guy?
Yeah, so if I go to create a wrestler, in many games, it'll have several different presets, and then you can tweak them from there. And basically, some of them have taken advantage of that to have one that looks very much like The Undertaker or very much like Ric Flair.
Right. No, we probably won't have that. But what we will have is that when you go into the create a wrestler mode, there are templates, but they're linked to every other created wrestler in the game. So that's kind of cool, because if you let's say you create Shawn Michaels from the Rockers, you can then create a new guy that will be blank, and then you go to templates, and then you find Shawn Michaels from the Rockers, and then it's much easier to create Marty Jannetty from that template. You won't need to go through creating all the outfits and everything again. You just change whatever you need to change. So yeah, every character that's in the game will be a template, even once you've edited them.
Excellent. Jared Mans wants to know if you're going to be able to set other things on fire, not just the tables, but maybe barbed wire, baseball bats, melee weapons, and stuff like that.
So yeah, I mean, we're still a little bit away from the base weapon usage, but yeah, setting them on fire is definitely something that's in the works for the future. So, and yeah, I think, I'd like to see flaming guitars and things like that.
Well, what about
burn, baby?
What about something like one of those Inferno matches?
Ooh.
where like the outside of the apron is on fire, or the ropes are on fire, something like that.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that. That would require another level of programming and time allocated to doing that.
I had a question for you too. What about barbed wire ropes?
Yeah. Again, it's so that's something that I want in there personally. But yeah, I guess it's a case of I don't know how long that's going to take to get it right, because if you look at the old ECW game on what was that, N64, the Acclaim one?
Yeah.
They've got a barbed wire match, but if you run into the ropes are just, they don't move, and it just doesn't feel like barbed wire. So you have to kind of get all that right as well. But it's definitely something I want to put in the game. It's just a case of how long it will take. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't be at release. It might be something that comes out after the fact.
Probably not at release. The thing is, as well, I think what we'll do is the initial release, the story mode, the legacy career, is only going to be the 80s.
Right.
So when we do a big update that's the 90s, I think that's when we'll also include a lot of more matches and maybe attire types and things like that. So I think the way that we'll do it is there'll be one big massive update that will be the 90s plus barbed wire matches, all the other kind of stuff that comes along with it.
Very good. Hitman wants to know, in the case that the character selection is more in the style of No Mercy World Tour with photos, as well as will be done with the community creation. This is all over the place. Hold on. In the case that the character selection is more in the style of No Mercy with photos, will there be a way to put an actual downloaded image or add a photo of the game model? I guess he's talking about the thumbnail for your startup screen or your versus screen.
Yeah. And in the character select, you have your little avatar picture. We have an idea of basically doing something kind of unique with that, where it'll be sort of illustrated drawings, but once you change in the career mode, in the creator wrestler, once you change like the hair, that will actually update, and then there'll be a new hair drawing over the top of the character, and the colors will all change as well. So we might end up, if we can't get that right, we might do a thing where you can upload your own individual avatars. But what I'd like to be able to do is to avoid having that, if we can get the system that we're going to work on, if we can get that good to the point where you kind of don't need it, because you'll just create your guy, and as you're creating the guy, the avatar would update in real time.
Okay. Ultimate Fight Chatter. What's
I've
that?
got for a couple more if you got anything for me.
Actually, there is something coming up here. Let me see if I can skip ahead and find it, though.
All right.
That's about entrances. There was something here. Let's see. Predetermined winners. Implement a move creation.
Everything's for Sam. It's all technical questions.
Yeah, no, I thought I'd seen something, though, about characters in particular.
Oh, that's okay. Well,
because I remember thinking that would have been a good one for you, but where'd it go, though? Maybe it's under read more. Hold on.
They just see they prefer Sam's charming Scottish accent to my grating hillbilly accent.
Well, then the New Yorkers got to be really getting on their nerves.
Yeah.
I'm just glad you guys can understand me at all. This is awesome.
What?
No, Sam and I were joking about it before we ever started talking, about how it would be pretty funny to sit here and listen to a Scotsman and a redneck sit there and jaw at each other and try to figure out what the other one's fucking saying.
Actually, I think this was the question that I was thinking about you on, which was the one we just went over, which is what characters were going to be defaults in the game. And I figured you guys would have probably talked that out already. Oh,
I don't have a clue, but I can tell you this, though. Steven, who I think you just saw walk past, he sent me an email and asked me kind of like about Blue Collar Bill Dollar and Sir Oliver Buckingham, like different personality traits and kind of how they would enter the ring and music and stuff like that. That's what he's working on right now. So
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I may have already said it somewhere else, but yeah, we're going to use two of Hal's characters, Bill Dollar and Buckingham, for the demo when that gets released, because people have already seen like the characters that I came up with in the trailer. So we thought, well, for the demo, initially I was thinking, oh yeah, I'll do Chad Maverick and I'll do maybe Johnny Cougar or something. But then I was like, no, people have already seen at least versions of those characters in the trailer. So for the demo, the one-on-one, we're going to go with two of Hal's characters.
And I just remembered the question. I don't see it now, but I saw it. It's in here somewhere. They were asking about action figures.
Oh, well, I have a call that I'm supposed to have with a guy who shall
Hasbro.
Well, I mean, we'll see, but I got some calls coming in about that. Couple meetings I'm supposed to take here in the next week or two.
Oh yeah,
and then we'll see where we are. Like, don't cream your pants, Vince.
Little bit maybe.
But when I have anything to update, I'll let you know. But right now it's still just like an idea,
But it is an idea.
Yes.
Oh man, I can't wait to hear about this.
The Hasbro style would look pretty good, I think.
It is just made for these drawings.
Yeah, it's a weird one as well because I mean, Hasbro's my favorite. Like Hasbro would be my first choice, but someone made a comment that I kind of reluctantly agree with, where they said the thing is with Hasbro though, it's actually been done so much now.
Yeah,
it's been done kind of to death almost. I mean, there's you go online, there's so many different companies that are doing their versions of it. So I'm kind of on the fence now that he said that, because he makes a good point. It has been done, whereas like I guess the argument is because Ultra Pro Wrestling, we want to stand out as well, but then at the same time the game is such a throwback to older games that maybe it's right for the toys to be some sort of throwback as well. But then, I don't know, maybe it has been done just a little too much, so maybe we could go in a different direction. I feel like I was more like 100% Hasbro, whereas now I'm sort of more on the fence and open to...
well, I mean, if not the Hasbro style, then what else is there really? I mean, you're not looking at the big rubber guys.
No. You know what? I was kind of thinking about like... well, there are more cartoony looking figures, like something more along the lines of like, Ninja Turtles, where they're bulky, I don't know. I don't think it has to be Hasbro, but I don't know. We'll see. There's a few ideas, and I'm going to hear from a couple of fellas that are in the action figure business about what the best options would be there. So, we'll make our choices, and it'll be nice. It'll be good.
Yeah. And
that
I think
part
maybe,
I got confidence. If
we're maybe torn as well between two different options, there's always the possibility of putting it to like a poll and seeing what people want as well.
The democracy in action for the toy community. Why not?
Well, in case anything happens to me between now and that, you have my vote already, so I'm tabulating mine.
You said Hasbro, right? Well, I want to put you down. I'm going to put you down for the little G.I. Joe style. Yeah.
The little G.I. Joe style.
There you go.
That's still better than the Remcos from AWA. That's what I was like, no, stay away from Remco. Don't even go near there.
Yeah.
Everybody looked like Masters of the Universe.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, that was the question. I don't know why I'm not finding it here, but it's here somewhere in the mix of all this stuff. But I'm glad it popped back into my head.
I believe in you. And thank you for digging that out of your ass. Okay. Well, fellas, I got to run.
All right, man.
I'll be back with you next week.
Take care and have a great day.
All right. Thanks for having me.
See you. All right. And then there were two. All right. Now the good looking guys are left. Let's go.
Oh, I should actually announce as well. Yeah, the good looking guys. I should announce as well that we're going to try and organize the raffle.
Oh yes,
for the Hal Haney drone. I've got an email list now of everyone who pledged for it. I think I've accounted for everyone. So I'm going to send out, I'm going to create an email list to send out individual raffle ticket numbers to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if maybe we could organize that for next Monday.
Sure, not a problem.
Yeah.
Do you know how many there are? How many, like numbers 1 through what?
I'm trying to remember now. Well, the way that I'm going to do it, because I think there was around 100, maybe 200 backers for that. And they all have like some have purchased like 1 ticket and some have purchased 10 tickets. But the way I'm going to do it is like if you've purchased 1 ticket, that'll actually give you, I think it's like 10 different raffle ticket numbers. And then so if you've got, is that right? I can't remember. I'll need to go back and look at the way that I've organized it.
What numbers we're running, like from 1 to whatever number.
Yeah, that's what it'll be. It'll be from like 1 to whatever number the final
I've got
one
a
is.
random generator that we can throw that in there. It'll make it instantly.
Yeah, it should be easy enough. But I'll just need to I need to email everyone first. But hopefully we'll do that next week.
So figure you and I can touch base maybe Saturday and say yay or nay for the Monday show to have it going. Otherwise, we can do it the week after.
Yeah.
If we need more time. All right. So you guys heard it here first. All right. Let's see. Will there be full entrances?
Yes.
Can music be selected before a match? If not, can custom music be added during matches like Fire Pro?
We don't have it set up that music could be selected before a match. Music's just tied to your well, not just your character, but your character's attire, because they could have like different music attached to different attires.
And there's no way of actually bringing your own music file in, right?
Not at the moment. That might be something that we look at. Right now, we're trying to see how far we get with the MIDI file creation system. There's also an idea floating around about Spotify integration. But I'm not entirely sure how that all works. Especially if people are streaming the game online on Twitch, their stream could get taken down if you get paired with someone that has that custom music, your stream could get taken down. So we're still in the sort of discussing stages of that.
Right, and I know that Sony, for example, has had things in the past where people there was games back in the THQ era where you could put your own music in. But then once they got to the PS4 level and people were doing all these streams and shares and what have you, Sony kind of stepped in and told 2K or THQ at the time that you can't have that as a feature in the game even. So in other words, it was no longer able to be done. So I don't know if that would be something that would be a platform buster or not to even try to incorporate it. But
yeah, at least with the MIDI files, although MIDI is obviously lower quality than an actual song, I think with the MIDI files, I think people can easily get around all that sort of sound detection and stuff.
Right. And again, a MIDI file is not technically the song. So the fact that you're recreating a song in a MIDI file, it's not really a copyright thing, I don't think.
Yeah, well, I think it's a gray area. I think because the composition is the same, that it could be, I think people can still claim for it. But with us doing that in a way where we're the platform and it's the users that are uploading it, it's sort of, it keeps us in the clear,
There you go. Glad to know you're thinking about these things. Will there be an authentic Goldberg type entrance where you can stand in the pyro? What authentic Undertaker or an authentic Undertaker type entrance with the lights out, purple lighting, things like that? Basically, is how much can you control? Is there a create an entrance feature?
Yeah, and you'll be able to control the lighting and pyro. We've not worked on all the different types of pyro, but I'm sure we'll get around to doing a sort of Goldberg type pyro as well.
All right. In the Aki games, you could not reverse the finishers. Will that be the same in UPW?
Very possibly. I'll have to think about that. Okay. I'll discuss that with Melon Bread.
The Jedi Master himself.
Yeah, well, he knows what would make for like good consistency with the AKI engine.
The highlight reel wants to know, will we be able to predetermine winners on pay-per-views? Like, let's say I play a match, but my character is booked to lose, so the CPU would kick out all the time.
Yeah, well, in the game, there isn't really a character's booked to lose. We might have, because that's another balance you have to strike as well, where you want the sort of backstage to be authentic, but at the same time, because it's a video game and it has to have that challenge to it as well. There's not going to be like, you're scheduled to lose a match or you're scheduled to win a match. Whoever wins and loses would still be that would be where the gameplay aspect of it comes in, and it's down to how well you play. But there might be part of the story mode where the GM tells you, and almost in like a backdoor sort of way, I want you to lose this match, and then again, it's up to you. And if you could lose either by accident or intentionally, and that could take the story one way, or you could just disobey the guy's orders. And I don't know. It sets up all sorts of Montreal Screwjob type scenarios.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I think would make it a little bit interesting. All these games, like 2K, again, we go back to, so the only ones releasing a title recently. But, since coming back with My GM, and I was never a My GM fan. So last year I barely touched it. This year I haven't even looked at it once. Because in my book, it's not My GM if I can't determine the winner of the match up front and how it's going to happen, whether it's a count out. Because, with a count out, you can continue the storyline. But if it's a clean pin, it kind of ruins the storyline.
Yeah, I think for, as I said, so when I'm talking about the career mode, I'm mostly talking about the legacy career mode. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think, now I actually remember my brother had a game years ago, like maybe, I don't know, 25 years ago. I can't remember the name of this game. It was all text based.
I know exactly what you're talking about, though.
So, and I'm sure in that game, and it was all about, buying and trading other wrestlers and, setting up your show and everything. And I'm sure in that game you would be able to determine who the winner should be, who the loser should be, I think. So
and
that's
how it would end and things like that. But they had no graphics to deal with. So it's probably a lot easier when it's only a text-based game.
Yeah. But as an idea of having, if you're the GM, we could maybe make it, because doing that for every single match would be a bit of a nightmare. But you could maybe make it that optionally, once you've set up a match, if you have a guy who you want to win, if we have a booker mode, maybe that's an aspect of that. The whole booker mode is something that really needs to be planned out, and we're not even close to that stage yet. But I'm definitely open to ideas like that.
Great. All right. Papa Doc has my favorite question of the week. Will Ultra Pro Wrestling have dual ratings like in Fire Pro? We're referring to a singles rating versus a tag team rating. So if Ricky and Robert singles went against Ric Flair, they're going to lose. But if Ricky and Robert went against Flair and Arn Anderson, they would probably win, because as a tag team, they're much higher rated than they are as a singles competitor.
That's something I've not really thought about, but that's interesting. Yeah. I would need to think about that, but yeah, probably. I would say that sounds like a good idea.
I think you and I discussed there's this old board game from the 80s that has been redone as a PC, and it's called Superstar Pro Wrestling Game. And it's got cards for each wrestler with statistical things on there, and it's based on rolling dice. Well, they, again, have a rating system on the card game where if you're a really good tag team wrestler, that double team moves would have a high probability being in the dice roll, because if you roll a pair of dice, your 6, 7, and 8s are more than normally going to show up based on the combinations to make them. So the same thing, like if you were a really crappy wrestler, your offense would only be like a 2, 3, 11, and 12, because those are hardly ever going to come up, and you'll be on defense the whole match.
Yeah, no, I think it's I like it because it makes the whole career mode so much more kind of like it opens the door for so much more possibilities. Because one thing I like the idea of is that whenever you play the career mode, it's different every time. So the more variables that we can add like that, like having a tag team rating that would change up situations and make lots of. Yeah, I'm struggling to describe it properly, but in my head, I'm going through like the programming way of putting that all together, and I think that's a good idea, and that's something that we could definitely do.
Well, I'm glad we at least put the seed in there, see if anything comes from it, because that would definitely stand apart from anything anyone else has done. Let's see. Is it possible to implement a move creation feature such as Fire Pro did with the Movecraft DLC, where the modders? I think we already talked about modders.
So, in terms of create your own move, we want to have a system like that, but it's not. I'm not too familiar with the Fire Pro game, so I'm not exactly sure at what you can do in the Fire Pro Movecraft. But the idea that we have just now is because it's all based off of, like, we're looking at the No Mercy animations. What we kind of worked out is that, in No Mercy there's like 3 different DDTs, but they all have the exact same setup, or at least 2 of them have the exact same setup. So it's like frame for frame the exact animation of when you pull them in. So what we want to do is we want to sort of take that animation block and have that as, you can either choose this setup or the other setup, which is very slightly different. And then from there, you've got, it doesn't have to be a DDT. It could be DDT 1, 2, or 3. It could be a setup for, Twist of Fate. It could be a bunch of different moves. So when you start blocking everything out like that, you can sort of create a move that is unique to someone like Kevin Nash, who might pull them in for the jackknife a little bit different than someone else who's just doing a regular powerbomb. And so you can take that first block, and then you can have them pull them in the way that Kevin Nash does for the jackknife, but then do a pile driver. So you can mix it up and create different strings of these blocks to create a unique looking move. And that's about as far as we're going to be able to get. But the way I've sort of described it in the office here is like, that's kind of like Lego. We have all these Lego blocks, and when you have so many blocks, and you can create all these different combinations, the possibilities are like almost infinite. Like, so again, when you play any 2 matches in a row, they should never really feel too similar, because so many things will be different across all the different wrestlers.
That makes sense. Let's see. Flister wants to know if you're going to have the low blow ding.
Probably not, because
It's copyrighted.
Well, no, it's not that. It's just, it's one of those little bits that's kind of, I don't know. It makes you feel like you're playing AKI when you have that. But it's one of those little elements of, like, I don't know how to describe it. Because
takes the realism out of it.
Yeah, it takes the realism out of it a little bit. And I don't know. I just, my instinct would be to have just a different, just have the opponent groan really loud or something like that, rather than have a ding bell noise that just happens to coincide with the low blow. So yeah, sorry if that will annoy people, because it takes it away from the AKI.
I think at this point, a lot of these people, well, yes, obviously the hockey game system is what everybody's excited about. They're looking for a realistic game as well, and one that plays realistically. And even when I'm playing now these N64 games, that little sound effect does throw me back into video game mode as opposed to wrestling game mode.
Yeah. And I wouldn't remove it from No Mercy. It's great there. It belongs there. But I just don't know if that's something that I would carry over.
Sounds fair. Final question. What kind of weapons will be used? I answered them already. I said a lot, but if you want to expound upon that.
So anything if you looked at those AKI games, anything that they had, chairs, bits of table, Singapore canes, any object that's kind of like that shape. Once you have the animations done for them swinging that object, it could be anything. It could be guitar, could be a golf club, I think is that. I think we're seeing your YouTube. Is that right?
What just happened? Did it mess up on me? Hold on a second. This happens occasionally.
Yeah, I just wanted to say in case anything private went up there.
No. There we go. We're good.
So a whole bunch of weapons. I'm happy to go for another 15 minutes if you want. If there's
we'll jump into the comments. I wanted to show you something first, though. Just something I was working on.
I think I saw images of it, not the entrance. Oh, is this with oh, that's cool. Oh, he looks good, doesn't he?
But when I saw Hal's rendition of it, I was like, I don't know if I can do that. And then all of a sudden I saw they had this pattern for the mask, and I was like, oh, damn, it's perfect.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
He is the World Cruiserweight Champion.
Yeah, he has become my favorite character right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I like what Hal did with the mask, made it the kind of eagle.
Yeah, I thought it just really made it pop off. And even what he did with the trunks, it's kind of like Zack Ryder's old one-legged tight set for the American flag side, and then he has another leg separate with the blue field and the star pattern.
Yeah, well, when I textured my version of Americana, I ended up going through about 3 or 4 different designs, fully textured them, and they just didn't look right. There was something off about them, and so I kept going back and kept trying, and it was hard to kind of get it looking good. But yeah, that looks awesome. I'm happy with that.
Me too. Thank you. All right, let's jump into some quick questions here. So Sean wants to know, are you planning to do a SNES mode?
Well, actually, we do plan to have a backstage arcade machine. This won't be in the initial launch of the game, but eventually in a future update, a backstage area will have an arcade machine where we'll have a version of a SNES game, but it'll be the Ultra Pro Wrestling characters. And we actually hope that we can release that game separately as a mobile game as well.
Cool. Do you and Hal have any other characters planned that we haven't seen yet?
I'm trying to think. There might be a couple that's not been posted yet. I think Hal's now going to go back and do some we don't really have many managers, things like that. So I think he's going to start working on all the people who would be in the game that are kind of behind the scenes, in the backstage area, or managers or commentators, ring announcers, things like that.
Cool. Lenny wants to know which characters are going to be in the game for the 80s.
We've not really properly planned out which characters will go with which companies, and if some characters will be held back until the 90s, or if, who knows, maybe all the characters could be in the 80s and they all sort of evolve over time. We've not that's going to take up quite a bit of planning to do all that. So we've not fully worked all that out yet.
But we'll find out soon. Not Joe Man wants to know if we're going to have baggy jorts and cargo shorts in Cretan mode.
Yeah, I think so.
So you'll be able to make John Cena if that's what you really wanted to know. Let's see. Can we create refs like in Fire Pro?
You'll be able to edit each promotion will have 2 or 3 referees that kind of are randomly selected. And you'll be able to go in and edit them for each different promotion.
Look at him going, yes, Remco. Yes, Remco. I love disagreeing with Vince. Let's see what else we have here. Copyright would be an issue. YouTube won't like that either.
And we want to make it friendly for people to be able to stream, and whether it's on Twitch or whether it's on YouTube or whatever.
Decade to decade when I get the game with my call. Hulk Hogan, brother. Yeah, think about that. Hogan goes over a lot of decades.
Yeah, that's it. There will be some guys that just never go away.
The ratings is a popular thing. Yeah, that would definitely set it apart. I don't even think Fire Pro has a separate rating for tag team and singles in the same wrestler.
Yeah, it gets a little bit complicated because then you sort of say, well, if they're in a three-way tag team match, should there be a separate rating for that? Or maybe it should just be you've got your single player rating and then a multi-man rating, so that carries over whether you're in a tag team or triple threat or whatever.
You have no idea.
Big Van Vader topless.
You've been looking? Speaking of backstage, will Ultra have a backstage segments, promos? And this is something I even asked you about, I think, last week. Cutscene style stuff that can be used in the shows, basically to further storylines along.
Yeah, I think the way that we're going to do it, because I'm not a fan of just like hitting a button and then sitting back and watching a cutscene play out. So in the case of a promo, it'll probably be that you'll have some sort of control over how you won't be able to obviously type in what you want your guy to say, but you might be able to sort of choose between, saying something, being more aggressive or like toning it down. Maybe if you're being interviewed by someone, there'll be an option of how you want to answer the questions, things like that. Maybe,
or even
maybe
like those old promos in the day where Gene Okerlund had like 6 guys on standby on the left and the right of the camera, and they'd each step into frame.
Yeah. I mean that's something at this stage as well that's still in the sort of planning stages. But there will be backstage promos. It's just a case of how they're going to be delivered.
All right, that'll give us something to work with. With this talk of the 80s and 90s eras, are you doing what they did in Legends of Wrestling Showdown, where each character had different rivalries for different eras?
Yeah. Different rivalries for different eras, but also different rivalries for different promotions. So you'll have like your rivals, but that'll change if you go to another promotion. But then your rivals from the previous promotion are kind of still there in the background. So if you go to like, if you go from WWF to WCW, and then 6 months later your rival from WWF comes to WCW, you're not going to just walk past each other. You're not just going to ignore each other. There'll be a kind of like, oh, this guy,
An acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Funky Buddha says during interference, all wrestlers run in from the ramp. With 2K, that's generally speaking, but there are times where they come in from the opposite side. You just don't see it until they're in the ring, and then they cheap shot you from behind. But I get the majority of the run-ins do tend to come from the ramp. Can we have a variety of ways wrestlers can enter?
Yeah, I would have. Yeah, it's not something I have implemented, but I would have that where you could select if you're gonna be a wrestler that runs into a match. Do you come in from the stage, the crowd, under the ring, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, Hornswoggle. There you go.
Or even was it the Undertaker coming up through the ring? Or
through the floorboard. Yeah, that would be cool. How many people can be in a faction?
That would freak me the fuck out in a match.
You think?
You're just playing and all of a sudden the ring starts opening up and some guy's crawling up it.
See the hand coming up. How many people can be in a faction, and will they be coming out together?
I'm thinking it's probably going to be around 4. We might be able to get it to 5. It depends on how many wrestlers we can have in the ring at one time. I would guess around 4 just now.
And they would come out together as an entrance?
Yeah.
And this gets us caught up. Lenny again. Can I put my own promotion in the legacy mode? If yes, how many and any promotion I can put in there?
So when you first play through the 80s, all the characters and promotions, apart from some of the Ultra Pro Wrestling ones, that doesn't make sense. But I know what I'm talking about. So most of the promotions and characters will be locked, but once you complete these, they all become unlocked, and you can edit them, do whatever you want with them. Then when you start the career mode again, if you went through the 80s again, all the changes that you've made, all the customizations, all the promotions that you've made, they all carry over into the legacy career mode, which actually will make, based on the changes that you've made in the settings, it'll actually make the career mode play out slightly different as well.
Cool. So the answer is yes, but not on your first playthrough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that gets us all caught up. And what's been going on with you this week? What accomplishments or achievements have you guys seen after the last 7 days?
Still organizing, trying to get lots of documentation set up. We've started work on the animations now, though, and we've been able to organize the sort of, before we had a streamlined process of doing that. We've been able to improve it a little bit. Now it's more streamlined and it's more organized, and so yeah, it's just a case of we have a priority move list of all the animations. We actually have something that we're getting done. It's not done yet. Hopefully we'll have it by next week. We have a big massive printout of every single animation that needs done, and we're going to put it on that wall over there. Yeah,
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Don't know when I'm stood up. Yeah, so we'll have that up on the wall, and that'll help us that actually visually see like how many moves we've done, how many moves we still need to do.
Like a checklist.
Yeah, stuff like that. So that'll be helpful. But yeah, it's going to be animations for the next 2 or 3 months. Probably we're going to be doing nothing but we want to get all the animations done, so that there's nothing really holding us up when it comes to gameplay. Because when it comes to programming the gameplay, it might be like, oh, I need this guy to fall off the apron a certain way, and then it's like, oh wait, we don't have that animation. We need to get that done first. So I think what we're going to do is we're just going to try and get all the animations done, load them all into the game, assign all the settings, and then we can get on with kind of building the gameplay more efficiently, and then hopefully we'll have some video footage that we can put out, and we're going to be developing Hal's characters as well, because the characters that appear in the trailer, they're kind of like it says at the bottom. It says, this is early footage,
Right.
So we're hoping that we might be able to find someone actually that can make them look even better, make them look like PS5 quality models, things like that.
Oh, that would be a home run right there.
Yeah. So
Now,
there's
you had mentioned something to me in our Twitter chat, and I just remembered I was supposed to bring it up. Other options for folks that didn't get on the Kickstarter but want to contribute at this point.
Yeah, and do you know what? I've been getting messages again. We still haven't got around to setting all that up. There's someone sent me a website. I think it was Gimbal sent me a website where it's kind of like Slacker Backer. It's that whole sort of idea. But we've just not really had the time to properly set it all up yet. As soon as that's set up and ready to go, we'll announce it on here, and I'll probably tweet it out and all that stuff as well. So we are working on that. It's just it's taking a little bit of time.
Okay. So there are other ways to contribute and get us up to that. We fell short by not much on that last tier.
Yeah, I think we were just under £20,000 from the last goal was 80,000, and we got about 62,000. Unfortunately, we didn't hear back from the Scottish government, the funding. We applied for it. They just didn't respond. So we're going to chase that up and email them, and we'll see if anything comes up. But it's not looking like we're going to get the funding from there.
The government's not responding to you to give you money. I find that hard to believe. In this country, they just hand it out to everybody except us.
Yeah.
That's
well,
what you need to do. You need to petition the U.S. government. They'll give it to you. They won't give it to us. They'll give it to you, though.
yeah, it's a little bit annoying as well because we were kind of taking that, and because we were eligible for it and we met all the requirements. We kind of thought we kind of started counting that into the calculation and stuff like that. Because basically, Kickstarter take 5% as their cut, and then there's another 3 to 5% for the actual transfer of the funds. And so, but actually, we haven't received the money yet as well from Kickstarter, so we're still sitting here waiting on that happening. So we don't actually know how much we're going to end up having when all the fees come off. But we were hoping that the Scottish government thing would have been able to. They were basically going to give you around 10% of whatever, or I think it was between 5 and 10% of whatever you raised on Kickstarter. So that would have covered all the Kickstarter costs, fees. So, but it looks like we're probably not going to get that.
Well, like I said, I think once you set this other stuff up, I think that'll definitely bring.
Well, yeah, that's the thing as well. Like, while we're developing the game, we've got Hal's talking to a bunch of people about, the action figures, T-shirts, things like that we can sort of have as a revenue stream as well while the game's still being developed. So if there is any hiccups, if there is anything that comes our way that's unexpected, at least we've got a little bit of money coming in from there as well. And there's also Patreon if anyone wants to.
That's true. Yeah, Patreon's already up and running.
Yeah. And you know what? There's been, I think we've got about 20 people that are donating to us on Patreon, so that's like super appreciated, because it's all just it all just helps. It all just helps us get to that finish line,
which we will get to. Just a question of when, but it's happening. And so next week, if things go accordingly, we're going to have the drawing for the Hal Haney character, and explain what that is again to people that maybe don't know what it was exactly. This is going to be where the winner gets with Hal and discusses a character of their own vision or of them personally, or either or.
Either or. Yeah, we basically got, during the Kickstarter, we got so many emails, people wanting to be in the game, people saying that they'll pay to be in the game. And because we had so many emails, we had to turn, pretty much everyone down, because it wouldn't be fair to give it to one person and not to someone else. So yeah, then someone suggested an idea of, well, why don't we do it for one person, but we'll do it in a way where it's a raffle, and it's just you buy a raffle ticket if you want to be in the game, or if you want, it might not be you, it might be your character concept. And because now we're working with Hal as well, that was an extra sort of not only will you be in the game, but you'll actually get to communicate with Hal, and he'll help you develop the design and into something that works. So so we managed to add that onto the Kickstarter before the Kickstarter ended. So we got a bunch of people contributed to that. I think it was, like I said, about 200. I think it was. So yeah, all that, as far as I know, we now have a complete list of everyone who contributed to that. I'll be able to email them all their individual raffle ticket numbers, and then if they tune in here next week, hopefully it'll all be set up, and I'll add that in the email as well. I'll tell them to come here to see the sort of live draw. So I don't know if you have, and also if you do it as well, it makes it more fair. It's not like I'm sitting here in my office pulling out a bit of paper. Look, guys, 63-1, and Steven starts jumping. That's me, So, if
do me a favor, Steve. When we do the drawing, jump up and say it's me anyway, just because it'll be funny.
So yeah,
or maybe both of them in the office jump up saying it's me, and then they can have like a make-believe wrestling match behind you while it's all going on.
Oh, they do that all the time anyway.
Well, there you go. Man. Well, this was a great episode. This is number 4 in our update series. Next week, like I said, if we can get it all together, if not the week after, but we'll shoot for next week to do the raffle and find out who the lucky winner is going to be that has his one-on-one with Hal Haney to get his artwork put into the game. We'll have some more updates on where the game has progressed to, although we know there's going to be a lot more animation coming, and we're going to answer your questions as we do each and every week right here on the Nation Network. I want to say thank you so much for my guests, Sam Valley, Hal Haney, and for all of you joining in here live, and for those of you watching after the fact, keep on dropping the questions. There'll be a new thumbnail with next week's date on it. That's where you put the questions for the next round. Remember, if you put more than one question, you might not get all of them asked because we're trying to keep the time limit down. So put your most important one up front, and that's the one that'll likely be addressed unless it's already been answered in the past. Parting words?
I'm tired.
I'll bet you are. Is that a crazy schedule?
Yeah, thanks again to everyone tuning in, watching this. Thanks to everyone who's helping us. Obviously, the Kickstarter, the Patreon. But also, we've actually had people join our Discord and offer services. We've got people that are, graphic designers. We've got a guy who's managing the Discord all by himself, and I'm not really great with Discord, so that's a massive help that he does that. So yeah, it's just, and even yourself as well, hosting this every week, collecting all those questions together. That's another thing that if I was left to do that myself, there'd be a lot less time. I'd be able to focus on the actual development of the game. So all this stuff is super appreciated and really, really helps get us there.
I'm just happy to be part of the ride, man. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week. We'll see you guys again next week for another episode of Control Center Update for Ultra Pro Wrestling. Until then, so long, everybody.